Zenas is a young and talented healer in the Kingdom of Hersheth, a land known for its powerful healers. The Royal Hospital in Hersheth is famous for its skilled doctors who are trained properly and hold licenses. But Zenas is different. He's a self-taught healer with no official training or license. He works in the slums, treating anyone who can afford to pay him. Despite his lack of credentials, people still come to him for help because his skills are unmatched. Zenas lives in a large, run-down house with his elf servant Lily. He also shares the house with a ghost named Carmela, who does nothing but float around the house all day. Zenas doesn't care much about what others think of him, and he doesn't judge people when they pay for his services. One regular day, after seeing all his patients, Zenas heads out to visit a new patient who's willing to pay him more. Lily stays behind and starts cooking dinner. Meanwhile, a group of his simps, a bunch of girls who are all obsessed with Zenas, shows up at his clinic, hoping to get some attention from him. These girls include Zofia, the lizard girl, Linga, the silly furry, and Loie, the strong dark elf. They all argue about who should get to see Zenas first and start talking about how they want him to thoroughly examine their bodies. Lily, who doesn't like anyone being too forward with Zenas, interrupts them and tells them to wait. She then invites them to stay for dinner once Zenas gets back. However, as soon as Lily steps out of the room to do laundry, the furry Linga and the Loie can't resist the urge to try the delicious stew Lily is making. They figure that just one sip won't hurt. But after tasting it, they crave more and end up eating the whole pot of stew. Even Zofia, the lizard girl, can't hold back for long and joins them in finishing the entire meal. When Lily returns, she's horrified to find the stew completely gone. The three girls try to blame each other for eating it all, but Carmela, the ghost, shows up and is furious. She was really looking forward to the meal. The girls, scared of Carmela, quickly volunteer to help Lily cook another batch of stew, but Lily tells them that there aren't enough ingredients to make more. So, the girls decide to go out and find the best ingredients they can. While the girls are scrambling to fix their mistake, Zenas returns home after his house visit. On his way back, he comes across a beast girl named Till. She looks like she's in terrible pain, clutching her stomach tightly. Zenas stops to check on her, but before he can help, her master arrives. The man is cruel and orders Till around, calling her a slave. He demands that she get back to work despite her obvious discomfort. When Till explains that she tried to see a doctor but couldn't afford the treatment, her master grabs her by the hair and drags her off, telling her she's not getting a break. Zenas watches the scene unfold but doesn't intervene, thinking it's not his problem. Till's master drags her to the local cemetery, where he throws her on top of a grave. Unbeknownst to him, a ghost enters Till's body and starts to take control of her. The man orders her to find valuable items hidden in the graves, but when Till doesn't answer, he kicks her in frustration. Despite the pain, Till clutches her stomach tighter. The ghost begins to fully take control of Till's body. Her master doesn't notice and continues to bark orders at her. He tells her she won't get any dinner if she comes back empty-handed. But Till is no longer obeying him. She's fully possessed by the ghost and suddenly lashes out, slashing her master's stomach open with her claws. The man realizes too late that she's no longer under his control and runs away in a panic, blood spilling from his wound. The man runs into Zenas as he tries to flee, begging for help.
I need help.
But Zenas doesn't care about saving the arrogant jerk. He tells him that he has no time for people like him. Just then, Till appears, and Zenas notices the dark energy surrounding her. He asks the man where they had been, and the jerk lies, saying they were just working on the farm. Zenas doesn't believe him but doesn't care enough to press further. The jerk pleads for Zenas to take care of his berserk slave, promising a reward in exchange. Zenas doesn't respond immediately, and just as Till lunges at the man again, Zenas steps in to save him, tossing him aside. Till continues to attack, throwing stones at Zenas with full force. Zenas dodges all of them with ease, knowing they would have left holes in his body if they had hit. The man, now desperate, thinks he can defeat Till, but Zenas isn't worried. He knows the real problem isn't Till but the dark energy controlling her. Zenas calmly tells the desperate jerk that he's a healer, and killing isn't exactly a good look for someone in his line of work. But before the jerk can argue further, Till, still possessed, hurls a massive boulder straight at them. Without breaking a sweat, Zenas punches the boulder, shattering it to dust using a fist glowing with magic. In a flash, Till charges at Zenas, attacking him with frightening speed. Zenas easily sidesteps several blows, barely moving. Then, allowing her to strike, he activates a magical barrier around him, sending Till crashing into a nearby building. The force of the impact is brutal, leaving Till seriously injured as the building collapses around her. Despite the damage, Till slowly crawls out of the rubble. The injuries weaken the ghost possessing her, causing it to lose control. Observing her carefully, Zenas now knows exactly what's troubling her. He approaches to heal her, but Till, still somewhat possessed, bites down on his arm fiercely. Zenas doesn't flinch or react. Instead, he immediately starts casting healing magic, gently removing the ghost from Till's body and fully healing her wounds. With another wave of magic, he also purifies the ghost itself, finally releasing it from its torment. Satisfied, Zenas declares he's done enough work for one day. The rich jerk watches this scene unfold in disbelief, finally realizing that Zenas is an extraordinary healer. Desperate and bleeding, he begs Zenas to save him. However, Zenas bluntly replies he's already reached his healing quota for today. Furious, the man complains, yelling that he's dying and demanding immediate treatment. With a calm voice, Zenas casually informs him it'll cost extra. Frustrated, the jerk tosses his purse to the ground, saying it should cover everything. But Zenas, after a quick glance, informs him the amount isn't enough. The jerk threatens to report him to the medical board for overcharging. With a smirk, Zenas tells him to go ahead. After all, he doesn't have a license anyway, and the medical board can kiss his shoes.
What?
Suddenly, an idea strikes Zenas. He casually proposes taking the beast girl, Till, as payment for the rest. Without hesitation, the jerk agrees to the deal. Zenas promptly heals the jerk's injuries, ensuring he won't die. Afterward, Zenas sits beside Till, patiently waiting until she regains consciousness. When she wakes, her stomach pain returns sharply. Confused and frightened, Till asks who he is. Calmly, Zenas shows her the documents proving he's her new master. Immediately, he gets serious and asks Till to strip down so he can examine her. Terrified and embarrassed, Till assumes he's just another pervert owner. But knowing she's still a slave, she reluctantly removes her shirt. Quickly, Zenas sees the real source of her agony, a gallstone causing intense pain. Speaking like some mystical doctor, he whispers complicated medical terms under his breath, then gently uses his magic to remove the stone from her body in seconds. Instantly, Till feels incredible relief. Stunned, she asks how he did it. With casual modesty, Zenas explains he simply used magic to cut her open, remove the stone, and instantly heal her again, all within seconds. Till finds this impossible to believe, but Zenas shrugs humbly, claiming any decent healer could do the same. Till thanks him profusely, but Zenas stops her, saying he doesn't want gratitude, he wants repayment for the price he paid for her. Nervous but determined, Till eagerly says she'll do anything, even offering something extra spicy. But Zenas isn't that kind of man and quickly rejects her suggestion. Instead, he simply asks her to gather a special herb for him. A bit disappointed, Till quickly fetches the requested herb. When she returns, Zenas announces she has officially repaid him in full. Completely baffled, Till can't figure out if he's serious or joking. Zenas then explains that without her help, he'd never have found that rare herb. In reality, she's fully repaid her price, and now she's free. Before Till can even grasp this, Zenas tears up her slave contract, telling her that her life now belongs solely to herself. Overwhelmed with emotion, Till thanks him deeply. Zenas kindly tells her she can visit his clinic whenever she needs healing, but jokingly warns her that his fees are a bit steep. With that settled, Zenas returns home just in time to see his 3 eager simps proudly returning with fresh ingredients, ready to finally make dinner. That's it for today. Thanks for hanging out. Make sure you come back next time to find out what kind of crazy adventures Zenas will face. See you in the next episode. Story continues. Zenas couldn't forget the time when he was part of the prestigious Golden Phoenix, one of the kingdom's most famous adventure parties. It was a time he had worked hard for, helping the party grow into one of the strongest groups around. But one day, everything changed. The leader of the group, Aston, told Zenas that they didn't need someone from the slums anymore. Aston handed him a gold coin and said it was severance pay, claiming Zenas was worthless. Confused, Zenas couldn't understand why they were letting him go, especially since he had been with the group since the beginning. He had always been their healer, saving them countless times. But Aston laughed, calling Zenas a self-taught fool who didn't even have an official healer's license. He claimed that without it, Zenas was completely useless. Zenas was stunned. He had believed they were friends, but Aston and his companions mocked him, saying he was just a meat shield, a tool they used to survive. Aston then explained that now that the Golden Phoenix was the strongest party in the kingdom, they were practically celebrities. They couldn't afford to have a common slum dweller like Zenas around. It was a bad look for them. Aston told him that the gold coin was more than enough for Zenas to get out of their way, and warned him never to mention he was ever part of the group. Zenas felt betrayed. This gold coin wasn't a gift, it was a bribe to keep him silent. He stood up, grabbed the coin, and left without saying another word. As he walked aimlessly, trying to figure out what to do with his life, he suddenly heard a noise. It sounded like someone was in trouble. Following the sound, Zenas discovered a man and a woman trying to subdue a struggling elf slave. They were trying to sell her off to a disgusting noble. The elf girl, clearly desperate, fought back fiercely, but the man shot an arrow into her leg. When he grabbed her by the collar, the elf bit his hand, and that only made him angrier. In a fit of rage, he stabbed her in the stomach. The woman, irritated that the elf was ruined, argued with the man about the ruined merchandise. Zenas couldn't just stand there and watch. He rushed over and offered them the gold coin he had just received in exchange for the elf girl. The woman quickly accepted, seeing the elf as a lost cause anyway. The two of them disappeared into the darkness, leaving Zenas with the injured slave girl. Zenas quickly examined her wound. The girl thought she was dying, but Zenas was a powerful healer. He calmly used his skills to heal her, and in no time, she was fully recovered. The elf girl was shocked. She hadn't felt any pain, and she couldn't believe she was alive. She introduced herself as Lily, but she was concerned about the gold coin Zenas had used to buy her freedom. Zenas reassured her, telling her that it wasn't a big deal, especially considering the person who gave it to him. He didn't care for the money, especially not from someone like Aston. Lily, curious, asked Zenas if he was a world-famous healer. Zenas shook his head and admitted that he wasn't even officially licensed. He was just someone from the slums, trying to make a living. Lily then asked where she should go, but Zenas noticed that she was hungry and homeless. Without a second thought, Zenas decided to take her in. He led her to a small tavern, where he bought her some food and clothes. She ate hungrily, but when she noticed that Zenas wasn't eating, she asked if he wasn't hungry. Zenas tried to brush it off, though in truth, he had no money left for food. Just then, a lizard man entered the tavern, looking for water. He had a bullet-like wound on his arm, with blood dripping onto the floor. Zenas immediately walked up to him and, after a quick examination, said it was nothing serious, just a scratch. The lizard man scoffed at Zenas, but Zenas didn't hesitate. He raised his hands and cast a healing spell, instantly fixing the wound. The lizard man was stunned, but grateful. He handed Zenas some money, clearly impressed by his abilities, and left the tavern. Zenas was left confused. This was the first time someone had paid him for his healing skills. Lily, however, wasn't surprised. She explained that healers usually charged a fee for their services. Zenas thought about it for a moment and realized that he could do this for a living. He could start his own clinic. But there was a problem. Since he was from the slums, it would be nearly impossible to get a legal license to operate. He'd have to work underground, as an illegal healer. Lily seemed happy with the idea and promised to help him however she could. Although Zenas didn't want to drag someone as young as Lily into such a dangerous life, he couldn't leave her to fend for herself. So, he accepted her offer to help and led her to an abandoned part of town, a place where the houses were in ruins and the streets were empty. It was far from the city center, hidden away from prying eyes. Lily asked why they were staying in such a desolate place. Zenas explained that they needed to keep a low profile for now, staying under the radar. Zenas was on the lookout for a place to call home. After years of sleeping outside, he desperately wanted a roof over his head. He finally found a house that wasn't in too bad of a condition, and even though it was still quite run down, Zenas was happy. For him, just having a roof over his head was a big deal. Lily, using her light magic, illuminated the area as Zenas inspected the house. While they were exploring, they suddenly came face to face with a terrifying wraith. It was Carmela, the queen of wraiths. Lily hid behind Zenas, fearing that this was the end. Wraiths were known to be the strongest undead monsters, and their touch was said to be deadly. But Zenas didn't panic. He calmly cast his healing magic, causing Carmela's arms to disappear. The wraith was stunned. She had never met a human who could fight back against her. Lily, shocked, asked Zenas how he was able to fight a wraith. Zenas looked confused and replied that he didn't see the big deal. He had fought hundreds of wraiths before. Back when Zenas was with his old party, Aston would send him into deep, dangerous dungeons just for amusement. There, Zenas had learned that wraiths were weak to healing magic. He had become so good at using it that he could easily defeat them. Now, facing Carmela, Zenas apologized, saying that he didn't want to cause trouble and just wanted to stay in the house. Carmela, angry that a human dared challenge her, summoned an army of wraiths to attack. But Zenas was too strong. He cast a powerful healing spell that instantly destroyed the lower-level wraiths, leaving Carmela alone. Again, Zenas apologized and asked if he could at least have one room to run his clinic. Carmela, realizing that Zenas was no ordinary human, agreed. She allowed him to use the space, but warned him that the second floor was her private area before disappearing into the shadows. A few days passed, and Zenas turned the room into a small clinic. Lily suggested that they should advertise, but Zenas didn't think it was necessary. Just then, the door opened, and the lizard man from before entered again. He introduced himself as Zahn and told Zenas that he brought his sister along. She had been injured, and Zahn asked if Zenas could help her. The sister showed Zenas her arm, which had been severely injured by a magic poison bullet. Zenas quickly realized that the arm was beyond saving, it would need to be amputated. He explained that the arm was dead and would have to be removed. Zahn was shocked by the price Zenas quoted, $100,000 for a simple amputation. That was far higher than the market rate. But the sister, Zofia, calmly explained that Zenas knew exactly what he was doing. She was the leader of the Lizard Clan, a group that took from the rich and gave to the poor. Zenas hadn't realized who she was, but he'd heard of Zofia before. She had a reputation in the slums for helping those in need. Zofia asked Zenas to justify his high price. Zenas, without hesitation, replied that regenerating a new arm took a lot of energy. Zofia was taken aback. "What do you mean by regenerating?" she asked, confused. Zenas casually explained that he would amputate her arm and then grow her a new one. Zofia was stunned, but if Zenas could truly do that, she agreed to pay the full amount. Zenas carefully placed Zofia on the table, and using an ethereal scalpel, he amputated her damaged arm. Then, using his healing magic, he grew her a completely new arm. Zofia was amazed. Healers didn't usually do things like this. But Zenas had his own unique abilities. Zofia thanked him for his help and told him that she would probably send more people to his clinic for treatment. Zenas, still surprised by the whole experience, realized that his skills were more powerful than he had ever imagined. He had started his journey as an underground healer, and now it seemed like his talents were going to bring him more clients than he had ever expected. A few days passed, and one night, after finishing up with the patients, Zenas sat down for some tea with Carmela and Lily. As they chatted, Lily asked, "Why are the lizard people always hurt when they come to us for help?" Zenas explained that there were 3 factions in the underground slums constantly fighting: the lizard people, the orcs, and the furries. Just then, Zenas sensed something strange. The door suddenly opened, and a group of furries walked in, led by a demi-human girl. She introduced herself as Linga, the leader of the furries. Zenas recognized her as a tyrant who controlled the gambling operations in the area. He told her they were closed for the day but could help if it was an emergency. Linga laughed, saying that no matter how many times the furries beat the lizard people, they always healed up and came back stronger. She then realized that Zenas was the one healing them. Furious, she grabbed a big axe and charged at him, threatening to kill him so he couldn't help the lizard people anymore. As she swung the axe, Zenas' shield shattered it with ease. The furries attacked, but their blows had no effect on him. Instead, they started destroying his clinic. Zenas tried to stop them, but they didn't listen. Just when things seemed out of control, Carmela appeared, furious about the destruction of her home. The sight of a wraith angry at them made the furries freeze in fear. Before Carmela could take action, Zenas stopped her. "This clinic is for saving lives, not ending them," he said. Carmela, deciding to respect his wishes, calmed down and retreated upstairs. Linga, seeing the power Zenas held, immediately dropped to the ground, begging for forgiveness. She knew that someone who could deal with a wraith could easily wipe out all the furries. Zenas reassured them, saying he wasn't interested in violence. He realized that, despite the chaos, he had probably gained a whole new group of customers for his clinic. His business was booming now, with patients coming from both the lizard people and the furries. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more exciting adventures and updates. Stay tuned for the next chapter.